Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that Rivers has agreed to be the next head coach of the Sixers team that failed to meet expectations entering the season. Rivers beating out Mike D'Antoni and Clippers assistant Ty Lue on that short coaching list. And we will have more from Adrian Wojnarowski as SportsCenter continues. He's been all over this story. In the meantime, let's bring in NBA champ Richard Jefferson. And Richard, let's talk a little bit about the credentials here that Doc Rivers brings to this organization. He has won titles. He has dealt with big personalities, especially when you look at the big three in Boston, what he did with Pierce and Allen, of course, Kevin Garnett, and then most recently with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. The expectations were much higher with the Clippers. He failed to meet those. What do you look at this fit here with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in Philly and now Doc Rivers, the head coach?
Well, let me first say that the expectations in Los Angeles weren't met after 1 year, but he was very instrumental in bringing Kawhi and bringing Paul George. And that's what's going to lead us to Philly. Ultimately, when you give him the Philadelphia 76ers, they're going to start building something that everyone believes has an opportunity to be special. But Doc Rivers, high level ability isn't just his ability to coach stars, but it's also his ability to recruit stars and bring people in and have the ability to buy in. I really believe that if he was given a little bit more time in Los Angeles, he would have delivered on that promise. But ultimately, he has a chance to do it with two very, very good superstars in Philadelphia.
RJ, you know about big personalities. You've played with them throughout your career, most specifically winning a title in Cleveland with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving here. I'm not putting Embiid and Simmons on that level just yet. I'm just saying, how would you handle if you're Doc Rivers coming into this situation? They have yet to win together as a team.
Well, I think everything takes time and takes years. One thing I will say is that this team this year for the 76ers was not even close. They didn't have the shooters. They didn't have Bellinelli. They didn't have Ilyasova. They didn't have JJ Redick. They didn't have Jimmy Butler. So to look at this Philadelphia 76er team and say that this was even remotely close to what they had in prior teams, I think they really need to start building player strengths. And that means that they need shooting and they need a lot of it.
Okay, it's hard to find shooters around the league. And one thing they do have is also, and it's not a big three, but they have Tobias Harris. They gave him the max deal. They brought him in, of course, from the Clippers in a trade. They also have Al Horford. With that, the four ingredients here, can you keep these four together with this team with Doc Rivers and produce a winner in the East?
Well, I think you want to give them time. Understand that a lot of Tobias Harris' max contract was based off of how well he played with the Clippers. A lot of people thought that he had a chance to be an all-star that year because he was leading that very, very young Clipper team. So hopefully Doc Rivers can get that portion out of Tobias Harris. There is no doubt about his talent. There's no doubt about his ability. But can he take that next step and be a game finisher like Jimmy Butler was and also be a guy that can shoot at a very, very high level? That's what they need from him. But they have plenty of talent. They have the pieces, but they're still going to need more pieces to turn this team into a championship level team.
And RJ, this is a fascinating story with the dominoes here because Ty Lue was one of the names considered for this job from the start when Brett Brown was fired. Now Ty Lue was the assistant under Doc Rivers, and now we have an opening in L.A. What does this now mean for the Clippers and a guy like Ty Lue or even Mike D'Antoni, who was one of those guys on this coaching search for the Sixers?
Well, when Mike D'Antoni's name was brought up in Philadelphia, I was very, very confused. Nothing about Mike D'Antoni's time in this league said that he would work well with Ben Simmons, who wasn't a shooter, or Joel Embiid, who is really a natural big. And so I was really confused about that. I think the Clippers could be, a good look for him. But ultimately, I think Ty Lue and the way he has the ability to also talk to stars and also recruit players to come play in L.A., I think that would be a very, very key pickup for the Los Angeles Clippers if they were able to get a guy like Tyronn Lue.
Okay, big off day here in the NBA Finals. You're from the bubble in Orlando, RJ, with the very latest with his thoughts on the Sixers deciding to go with Doc Rivers. Let's go to Ashley. Oh, wait, you know what? Actually, here's some more information coming in with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid on the court. The last 3 seasons, it really what stands out is when they were together, this duo in 2017 and 2018, the health and the optimism, an all-time high. Look at the minutes there on the right side. And then you see the numbers dramatically drop from 2 years into 2019, 2020, that net efficiency and just 840 minutes on the court together. Ashley?
All right, we're now joined by Adrian Wojnarowski. He broke this news and he's on the phone joining us now. Adrian, tell us
To meet with the Sixers as their coaching search continues, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Rivers is expected to be the last of the 3 candidates to meet with the Sixers, as their list includes Clippers assistant Ty Lue and former Rockets head coach Mike D'Antoni. Rivers and the Clippers, they were shocked by the Nuggets blowing a 3-1 series lead in the Western Conference semifinals. As you see the coaching candidates and their resume, and Rivers meeting with ownership tonight. Woj joining us now with much more on this developing story. Woj, going into this meeting tonight, where does the search stand right now in Philly?
Kevin, the Sixers were ready to decide between Mike D'Antoni and Ty Lue until Doc Rivers became available. Doc spent time, I'm told today, with Elton Brand, the Sixers general manager, and then he'll spend time this evening with ownership, Josh Harris, David Blitzer in Philadelphia. And then I'm told the Sixers will move closer to a decision on who they'll offer their head coaching job to in the next few days. My sense right now, the focus is on Doc Rivers, Mike D'Antoni.
Okay, well, Ty Lue clearly in the mix in Philly right now. Also an assistant under Rivers this season in Los Angeles. So what's his status of potentially replace here, Doc, with the Clippers?
Kevin, Ty Lue has a real opportunity to get that Clipper job. He is in strong position as this search starts there. But the Clippers are going to do a search, and they're going to go out and talk to candidates. Steve Ballmer, as owner, this is the first chance he's had to do that. Obviously, when he bought the team, Doc Rivers was in place and extended him a couple of different times. But Ty Lue is well regarded in that Clipper organization. He checks a lot of boxes for them. He's won a championship. He's been to the finals multiple times. He understands the pressure of a big job, having coached LeBron James in Cleveland. And Ty Lue also, I'm told, is expected to meet with the New Orleans Pelicans here in the near future. Their president of basketball operations, David Griffin, he and Ty Lue were together in Cleveland when they won that title.
Fascinating story here with the Domino's. Woj with the very latest on the coaching searches in Philly, L.A., as well as New Orleans. As Rivers, he trails only Greg Popovich among active coaches in playoff wins. Among the 6 teams with a coaching vacancy at the moment, 5 of them made the playoffs this past season. Ashley?
And for more reaction on this news, let's go to Stephen A. Smith. Stephen, what do you make of this news? Doc Rivers out with the...
Well, it's incredibly unfortunate, first of all. You understand to some degree why he's gone, because when you've been coaching a team for 7 years and you haven't been to a conference finals, that's problematic. We understand that. But in this particular instance, when you consider the fact that he's one of the elite coaches in the game, when you consider the fact that they were coaching in a bubble, you had a team, you were coaching a team that basically voted not to be there, which means they didn't want to participate. You had guys like Montrezl Harrell missing about 33 days, Patrick Beverley missing about 18 days, numerous other players missing a slew of days because they were either injured or there were other things that were going on that prevented them from performing. You really didn't have a chance. And then when you consider what transpired in games 6 and 7, when in terms of high percentage shots and things of that nature, they were getting them and guys were just missing. Then you have a leader in Kawhi Leonard, the superstar that you acquired in the offseason, along with Paul George, 2 individuals that probably would not have come there had it not been for Doc Rivers being the head coach of the franchise, and they don't show up in the game 7. Then it's one of those situations, particularly when you're looking at Kawhi, who is as indifferent as they come in terms of his personality. He's going to work hard. He's going to go on the court. He's going to perform. He's never going to cheat you with effort. But in the end, can you be that leader that galvanizes troops? That was never Kawhi Leonard's MO. So all of those things being stacked against Doc Rivers, what I'm saying is that if he's going to lose his job, you know what, it would have been far more understandable had there never been an interrupted season and he lost under those conditions. But considering the fact that the season was interrupted and then you had guys, the Clippers and the Lakers were the only 2 teams that voted not to participate in the bubble and not to play, then they came back and played. And unlike the Lakers, you had guys missing games all over the place. For him to lose his job under those conditions are incredibly unfortunate for a coach of his stature. I don't like it at all.
And as you mentioned, this is a team with a couple of big superstars, a lot of good players that come off the bench, a team that I think a lot of coaches would love to coach. So who do you expect the Clippers to now pursue to take over for Doc Rivers?
I have no idea whatsoever because I had no idea. I mean, I suspected that Doc Rivers would probably lose his job because you heard the whispers and what have you. And you imagine all the guys that'll be out there clamoring for this opportunity. And I haven't spoken to Steve Ballmer about this, the billionaire owner for the Los Angeles Clippers, as of yet, nor anybody within the Clippers organization, because this just came down. And obviously, I wasn't working until I just heard the news. But in the end, I will tell you that any coach out there would want this job.